Hello, welcome to Stories from Strathmore with me, Jimmy Black. Tonight it's the second part of our interview with Calum Strachan of Aileach, otherwise known as the Piper of Baghdad. Calum had been working as an engineer in Kuwait when Saddam Hussein invaded. Along with 4 others, he took refuge in a basement rather than give himself up to the Iraqis and be used as a human shield against Allied attack. Calum spent 133 days in that basement with no idea of when it would be safe to leave. Then, quite unexpectedly, the news came through.
It came as a surprise. Saddam Hussein had mentioned over the news that those expatriates who were held as hostages would be released. We weren't certain if that meant us being in hiding, and it was the following day, which I think was the 7th of December, when it became clear that we would also be allowed to leave.
Mm-hmm. But how could you believe that Saddam would keep his promise?
We couldn't. We just had to hope that was the case.
So really, it was an act of faith walking out of that basement?
We didn't walk out until it was quite clear. I think it was the first time we actually went out was the day after, the 8th of December, and we went across the road to another block of flats, and we actually had a party.
After such a long time in hiding, the expatriates were still unsure of their own safety, but their confidence began to grow.
That's right. Everybody was very nervous, but when we were walking about and things, it was obvious that the order had been passed down from Baghdad as the soldiers were leaving us alone. They looked with sort of eyes of hatred to an extent, but they did leave you alone. In fact, in the morning that we were leaving, I actually went on top of the block of flats and started playing the pipes just as a bit of practice.
So that everyone knew that you were out?
That's right, they all knew. And literally sort of 20 yards from the block of flats was a local school where the soldiers for that area were billeted, and they weren't amused to hear the pipes. They were quite angry at the fact that we were so close to them, and they'd walked past us day in, day out, and hadn't picked us up.
And then here you were practically laughing in their faces.
That was exactly what we were doing.
I wonder if they didn't take a pot shot at you.
There were a few rifles raised, but fortunately no bullets came out.
Did you see that when you were standing playing?
Yes, quite clearly.
And you carried on?
I'd started, so I was going to finish.
You're off your head, man.
I know.
Were you wearing the kilt as well?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Next came the first leg of the journey homeward.
We were taken to Kuwait International Airport, where we were checked in. We were then put onto buses organised by the Iraqis, and we were taken to a military airfield in the north of Kuwait. From there, we were transferred onto a plane which had been Kuwaiti Airways, and you could quite clearly see the markings on the plane underneath its new paint job. And we were flown to Baghdad. And it was when we had left that plane that everyone coaxed me into playing the pipes as we were entering the terminal.
Now, again, was that not just a touch risky?
It was, and the British ambassador was furious, but we kept on. Everyone behind me wouldn't allow me to stop.
So, can you remember what tune you played that day?
I do. There was three tunes that I played. The first was Wings, as we were about to head onto an airplane to get out.
Is that a pipe tune?
That is a pipe tune. It's Royal Engineers' signature tune. The second tune was Scotland the Brave, and the third tune was Let's Have a Ceilidh.
Perfectly obvious why you chose those ones.
That's what I thought.
And really, the British ambassador was furious.
He was very annoyed.
Did he give you a row?
He did give me a row, and about 300 British expatriates behind told him what to do.
What about the Iraqis?
When the pipes started up, there were obviously a lot of plainclothes security policemen in the terminal, and they came rushing out of the woodwork, scattering the TV crews and the sound men. Until they realised what was happening, they were in a panic. And after, when I stopped, everything settled down, and the TV crews came back and said, "Oh, could you start again?" Because the sound man was separated from the cameraman, and as a result I had to play the 3 tunes again. And it was at that time that the British ambassador came up to me and kindly asked me to stop. As I say, he had 300 replies.
So anyway, you played the pipes, you put them down. What happened then?
Well, we had to hang around for quite a while until the flight was ready. And we were then escorted onto the plane. And we took off and headed for London.
And what happened when you got to the airport in London?
Well, just before we came to London, we were told to fasten our seatbelts. Of course, we didn't listen to anything the Iraqi crew were telling us, and we were just milling around and chatting with our friends here, there, and everywhere on the plane. And just as we were coming in to land, I was asked by my fellow passengers to pipe them into Gatwick. So I duly did, much to the annoyance of the guards and the crew that were on the plane, and carried on playing until the doors opened, and everyone was just wanting to get off, and the bureaucracy was standing at the top of the steps, desperately wanting us to stay put for a few more minutes, and everyone was desperate to get off. Eventually I had to give in and stop playing. I was running out of breath.
Mayhem, I should imagine.
Indeed.
So then you presumably made a dignified entrance to the airport.
Well, I wasn't allowed to get into the airport until I did start playing again.
So you led the expats off the plane into the airport.
That's correct, yeah.
Again, newsmen and all the rest of it, photographers waiting for you.
They were all waiting. They were all wanting me to play more, but of course we had been on the go from about 5 o'clock Kuwait time, and this was now 1 o'clock in the morning, or 12 o'clock midnight it was, UK time. We were all pretty tired and just wanting to get to our families.
Right, and that was the next stage. You went home.
Well, my wife actually met me in London.
Mm-hmm. And what was the reunion like?
It was quite tearful. It was very tearful, but a relief.
Of course. Then what happened?
Well, for a few days the press and the TV were after me, wanting a few stories and what have you, which I duly did. And after, it was a case of getting back to work.
Calum is now safely back in Scotland and successfully running his own business as a building consultant. I wondered if he ever thinks back to those days in the Kuwaiti basement and shivers at what might have happened to him.
No, I have no nightmares, no problems with the events that have passed. The only time I do waking up in the middle of the night is wondering how I'm going to get all the work done that I've scheduled for the following day.
So it's all over now and it's back to normal, and it's just for a day there you were the most famous piper in the world.
Well, yes, it was probably a well-known face for a day.
Well, that's all from Stories from Strathmore for another week, but we'll continue the piping theme next week, looking mainly at the tradition in the Blairgowrie area. Until then, cheerio!